Hey, I'm Diego Perezandi, and I'm going to present my evidence tree from contemporary world. Globalization. It is the acceleration of global movements and exchanges of people, goods and services, capital, technologies and cultural practices. It's also the world's economic cultures and people's growing independence. Trade. The buying and selling of goods and services, including the compensation provided by a buyer to a seller, as well as the exchange of goods and services between parties, are all examples of trade. Within an economy, trade can take place between producers and consumers. Digital revolution. The digital revolution has to do with the internet, mobile devices, social networking, and computer clouds. It started in 1980. Terrorism. The terrorism has been defined as the use of unlawful force or violence against people or property in order to intimidate or persuade a government, the civilian population, or any sector of it in order to achieve political or social goals. Assigning a truly comprehensive definition to terrorism stems from the fact that it's difficult to be specific when motives, targets, and methods vary so widely from each case. Globalization and developed countries. The developed nations may invest the developing countries, which creates employment and enlarge the percentage of consumer spending. The better for a business that rely on consumer sales to stay open and pay the vendors. It also assists developing nations in dealing with the rest of the world, allowing them to improve their economic growth while also handling poverty issues such as food security and access to clean water. The WTO it stands for the World Trade Organization. It's an international organization that deals with international trade rules. It runs a worldwide system of trade regulations, serve as a platform for negotiating trade agreements, resolves trade disputes among its members, and helps developing nations meet their needs. The WTO has its objectives and rules. Their objectives is to establish the international trade regulations, to resolve trade disputes, to make decision-making processes more clear, to work with other big international economic institutions that are active in global economic management. And the rules, countries bind their promises when they agree to open their markets for commodities or services. These binders act as ceilings on customers' duty rates for products. Imports are occasionally taxed at lower rates than the bound rate. The WTO facts and importance of it. The WTO it was integrated on November 1987. The WTO has 159 countries as members of the organization. The WTO is important because it reduces tariffs and other trade obstacles to encourage free trade. Most of the world's trade nations have negotiated and ratified accords to do this. Advantage and disadvantage of the digital revolution. Advantage: the digital revolution has resulted in direct personal benefits such as easier communication and information, increased convenience, and new leisure activities. It also given them a strong feeling of social connectivity and global community. A disadvantage is the distractions can also be an issue, especially now that nearly everyone on the planet has access to high-speed internet. The internet provides limitless content and entertainment with only one click. Although technology allows us to spend less time and less effort on activities, this is not necessarily a good thing. Tech and terror. Terrorism and the technology. Technology specifically designed to combat terrorism includes methods for assuring the premature detonation of explosives or preventing explosives from being triggered. Access to the internet, the first and most fundamental capacity, has transformed the way people radicalize and plan assaults. On the radicalization front, internet platforms provide more possibilities for people to get radicalized and speed up the rate at which radicalized people mobilize.